The first true sleeping pill was synthesized in a chemistry laboratory in Germany in 1903. Every generation that came before that moment, every family, every village, every civilization that ever struggled through a sleepless night, turned to something completely different. 18 somethings, to be exact. And one of them, one near the end of this list, has a Latin name that literally translates to sleep-inducing. It has been prescribed for 3,000 years, and researchers testing it recently found that it worked. Keep that in mind as we go. Before the pharmacy counter, before the prescription pad, there was the medicine chest that every household kept. At least 6 of the remedies on this list were once officially listed in the United States Pharmacopoeia, or the National Formulary, the official government registry of approved medicines. They weren't folk superstitions. They were official medicine, and then, quietly, one by one, they were replaced. This is what came before. Number 1, chamomile, 5,000 years. That is how far back the documented use of chamomile for sleep and anxiety reaches. The ancient Egyptians listed it in their medical papyri as a remedy for nervous conditions and restless nights. Greek and Roman physicians documented it. Medieval European herbalists kept it in every apothecary garden. They prepared it as a gentle tea, dried flowers steeped in hot water at nightfall. And that preparation? Modern science has confirmed exactly why it worked. Chamomile contains a compound called apigenin. Apigenin binds to the same receptors in the brain that benzodiazepines target. The same receptor, different molecule, thousands of years apart. A 2024 meta-analysis, analyzing multiple clinical studies, confirmed significant improvement in sleep quality. 5,000 years of use. The research finally caught up. Number 2, valerian root. If chamomile was the gentle standby, valerian was the serious remedy. The Greek physician Galen was prescribing valerian root for insomnia in the 2nd century. Hippocrates wrote about it before him. By the time of medieval Europe, valerian was considered one of the most trusted sleep remedies available. Physicians across England, France, and Germany prescribed it without hesitation. It was traditionally prepared as a decoction. Roots simmered slowly, the resulting tea taken before bed. During the First World War, valerian was used across European field hospitals to treat shell shock, what we now call post-traumatic stress. A 2020 meta-analysis of nearly 7,000 patients found valerian produced statistically significant improvements in sleep quality. 1,200 years of documented use. 7,000 patients. Studied. Same answer every time. Number 3, warm milk. Before we had words like serotonin or melatonin, Ayurvedic physicians in ancient India were prescribing warm milk at nightfall. They believed it settled the body's vital energy before sleep. European and American families carried the tradition forward into the 19th and 20th centuries. The glass of warm milk before bed was as universal as the bedtime prayer. Modern research confirmed what these traditions always knew. Milk contains tryptophan, the amino acid the body uses to produce serotonin and melatonin. More surprisingly, a 2021 study found that specific peptides in milk, obafamum, casein, tryptic hydrolysate, have direct sedative properties. Milk collected from cows at night, when the cow's own melatonin is elevated, was found to contain higher concentrations of sleep-promoting compounds. Your grandmother didn't know about casein peptides, but she knew what time to put the milk on. We're 3 remedies in, and we're just getting started. There's one coming up at number 13 on this list that was sold in American pharmacies for over a century, under a name that will genuinely surprise you. Stay with me. Number 4, Passiflora incarnata was used by indigenous people across South America and the southeastern United States for centuries before European contact. Spanish missionaries documented it in the 16th century, naming it for the Passion of Christ. seeing in its flower's crown of filaments the crown of thorns. By the 19th century, it had crossed the Atlantic and entered European herbalism. In 1916, it was officially listed in the United States National Formulary, the government's registry of approved medicines, as a sedative and sleep aid. Doctors prescribed it. Pharmacists stocked it. It was medicine. In 1936, it was quietly removed from the formulary, not because it had been proven ineffective, but because the era of pharmaceutical sedatives had arrived. A double-blind clinical trial published in 2011 found significant subjective sleep improvement in healthy adults. 20 years after it was removed from official medicine, the research found it worked. Number 5. Hops. Here is something that may surprise you. The monks who first cultivated hops in medieval Bavaria were not doing it primarily for beer. They were making sleep pillows. Workers in 19th century English hop yards were observed to fall asleep at unusual rates during harvest, leading British physicians to begin studying the plant's sedative properties. The compounds 2-methyl-3-butanol and humulone, formed from hops' alpha acids during storage, interact with the brain's GABA receptors. A clinical trial testing a Valerian and hops combination found it increased total sleep duration by between 22 and 49 minutes versus placebo. The beer came second. The sleep remedy came first. Number 6. Lemon balm. Lemon balm, Melissa officinalis, carries in its genus name the Greek word for honeybee. Ancient Greek physicians noted that bees sought it out above all other garden plants. Paracelsus, the great Renaissance physician, called lemon balm the elixir of life. It was used for nervous exhaustion, melancholy, and what physicians of the age called disordered sleep of the anxious mind. Prepared as an evening tea and sometimes combined with valerian or hops. A recent clinical study in cardiac surgery patients found that 87% of those given lemon balm reported improved sleep, compared to 30% in the placebo group, nearly 9 out of 10. That is not a folk memory, that is a clinical result. We are halfway through this list, and every remedy we have covered was used by real families in real households for generations. But the next 6, I want you to stay with me for these. In balloon, because these are the ones that most people have never heard of. And number 13 has a story that I think will stop you cold. Number 7, lavender. The Romans brought lavender with them wherever they conquered. They bathed in it. They burned it before sleep. The name lavender comes from the Latin lavar, to wash. For centuries, sachets of dried lavender placed beneath or beside the pillow were standard practice across European households. Mothers did this for their infants. Physicians recommended it for the anxious and the elderly. The primary compound in lavender, linalool, has been shown to modulate GABA receptors and reduce cortisol levels. A 2025 meta-analysis found that 9 out of 11 randomized controlled trials showed significant sleep improvement from lavender aromatherapy. 9 out of 11. From simply breathing in what the Romans were burning 2,000 years ago. Number 8, California poppy. Before we say another word about this plant, let me say something clearly. California poppy contains absolutely no narcotic alkaloids. It is not related to opium in any meaningful chemical sense, despite sharing the poppy name. Native Californian tribes used it for generations as a mild sleep aid and pain remedy, boiling the leaves and roots to make a gentle sedating tea for restless children and sleepless elders. It earned recognition in the United States National Formulary in 1918. Modern research has confirmed that California poppy's alkaloids interact with GABA-A receptors, the same pathway targeted by pharmaceutical sleep aids, without producing addiction, dependency, or morning sedation. It grows wild across most of California, treated as a roadside weed. It was once considered medicine worth remembering. Number 9. Motherwort, Leonurus cardiaca. Its Latin name means lion-hearted. The Greek physician Dioscorides documented its use in the 1st century for anxiety and sleeplessness. For over 1,000 years, it was kept in nearly every European household garden. Prepared as a tincture or a tea for nervous tension, palpitations, and what healers of the age called anxious restlessness at nightfall. It was not a dramatic sedative. It was a gentle nervine, calming the agitated heart and quieting a mind that refused to still. Clinical combination studies have found it works synergistically with valerian, hops, and lemon balm, the whole more effective than any of the parts alone. For 1,900 years, mothers reached for it. The name was not accidental. 9 remedies down, 9 to go. What comes next is where it gets remarkable, because the next 3 include a fruit you probably have access to right now, a mineral that traditional diets supplied in abundance, and a plant that the Native American nations and colonial American physicians both knew, and that a 2024 clinical trial just confirmed. Number 10. Skullcap. Native nations across eastern North America, among them the Cherokee, the Iroquois, and the Seneca, used skullcap for centuries for what they described as nervous agitation and troubled sleep. By the 19th century, American eclectic physicians, who combined traditional plant medicine with formal training, had adopted it as one of their most trusted nervines. It was prepared as a tea or tincture and prescribed specifically for anxiety-driven insomnia, the kind of sleeplessness that comes not from exhaustion, but from a mind that will not quiet. A 2024 randomized controlled trial found that 400 milligrams daily for 56 days significantly improved Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index scores, with no adverse effects reported. A plant that grew wild along every woodland stream in Eastern America, known to the nations who lived here and to the physicians who learned from them. Number 11. Tart cherry. This one may be the most counterintuitive remedy on this list, because it is not a herb or a root or an old-fashioned tea. It is a fruit, and it happens to contain naturally occurring melatonin. European folk traditions, particularly in Germany and Poland, used tart cherries as a summer sleep remedy for centuries. Eaten in the evening, their bitterness considered a sign of their medicinal potency. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition confirmed that tart cherry juice measurably increases the body's own melatonin levels. A pilot study on insomnia found that participants drinking 2 glasses daily increased both sleep duration and sleep quality. The tradition knew something. It took a laboratory to explain why. Number 12. Magnesium-rich foods. This one is not a single herb or remedy, it is a pattern. The traditional diet of pre-industrial Americans, Europeans, and nearly every other agrarian society was naturally high in magnesium. From leafy greens, seeds, legumes, and unrefined grains. Ayurvedic physicians explicitly categorize foods by their calming mineral properties. A meta-analysis of elderly patients with insomnia found that magnesium supplementation reduced the time to fall asleep by an average of 17 minutes. Magnesium acts on NMDA receptors and GABA receptors, the 2 primary pathways involved in sleep regulation. When traditional diets were replaced by processed foods, which stripped magnesium, sleep disorders became an epidemic. The food was the medicine, and the medicine disappeared when the food changed. 2 more before we reach the 3 that most people have never heard of. Number 13 was sold in American pharmacies from 1820 to 1926 under the name lettuce opium. Number 13. Wild lettuce. Let me say this again carefully. Wild lettuce, Lactuca virosa, contains absolutely no opiates. The name Lettuce opium was given because of the appearance of its dried sap, dark, resinous, and called lactucarium. Ancient Egyptian physicians documented the use of wild lettuce going back to at least 1500 BC. The Roman historian Pliny records that Caesar Augustus erected a statue in honor of the physician who treated him with wild lettuce, believing it saved his life. It was listed in the United States Pharmacopeia from 1820 to 1926. For over a century, any American could walk into a pharmacy and purchase it. The active compounds, lactocin and lactocopicrine, have been confirmed by modern laboratory analysis to possess genuine sedative and analgesic properties. Not as powerful as opiates, but real, documented, present, a plant used since before the pyramid stood, sold in American pharmacies for a century, then quietly removed, now growing wild at field edges, unrecognized. Number 14. Nutmeg. In medieval Europe, nutmeg was worth more than gold by weight. Empires went to war over the islands that grew it. In Ayurvedic medicine, nutmeg was used for over 1,000 years as a sleep aid, always in tiny amounts. A pinch in warm milk at bedtime for a restless child. A whisper of it in evening tea for an anxious elder. European herbalists of the 12th century, including Hildegard von Bingen, wrote about its calming properties with this same insistence on small quantities. And here, I want to be very direct. Nutmeg is only safe in tiny culinary amounts. Large amounts, more than a teaspoon, cause what is documented in medical literature as nutmeg poisoning. The traditional use was precise for this reason. A pinch, not a spoonful. A whisper of spice in the evening milk. Used carefully, as it was always intended. A spice that doubles as a gentle sedative when the measure is right. Number 15. Kava. For thousands of years across the Pacific, in Fiji, in Tonga, in Vanuatu, in Hawaii, Kava was, and remains, the foundation of ceremonial and communal life. Chiefs drank it before councils. Healers used it for those who could not sleep. The active compounds, cavalactones, modulate GABA and dopamine receptors, reducing anxiety and promoting sleep. Clinical trials using standardized Kava extract have found significant improvement in anxiety-related insomnia. And here, I must be direct. Kava has documented risk of liver toxicity at high doses. Research suggests this risk is substantially lower with traditional water-based preparations than with concentrated commercial extracts. If you have any liver condition or take medications that affect the liver, Kava is not for you without medical guidance. Thousands of years of communal use, real clinical evidence, and a real safety conversation that belongs in this video. Number 16. The Kneipp Cold Foot Bath. Sebastian Kneipp was a Bavarian monk who lived from 1821 to 1897. He developed a system of water-based therapies, now called Kneipp therapy, that swept through Europe in the late 19th century. His book, My Water Cure, published in 1886, became one of the most widely read health books of its era. For insomnia specifically, Kneipp prescribed cold water foot baths in the evening, brief, 1 to 3 minutes, followed immediately by walking barefoot to warm the feet. The mechanism, modern thermoregulation research confirms, is real. When the body's core temperature drops slightly, which is triggered by warming the extremities through vasodilation, the signal for sleep onset is triggered. A monk in Bavaria figured this out in 1886. Sleep researchers confirmed the thermoregulation mechanism in the 21st century. Number 17. Saffron. More valuable than gold by weight through most of recorded history. It takes 225,000 crocus flowers, hand-harvested, to produce 1 pound of saffron. Persian physicians prescribed it for melancholy and sleeplessness for over 2,000 years. Ayurvedic texts across India classified it as a sattvic herb, one that promotes clarity, calm, and restful sleep. Prepared as golden milk, a pinch of saffron in warm milk before sleep. A systematic review published in 2023 found saffron improved sleep quality, reduced stress, and lifted mood in multiple clinical trials. At just 28 milligrams daily, a very small amount, researchers observed what they called remarkable reductions in anxiety and negative mood. The most expensive spice in the world was, for 2,000 years, also a prescription for the sleepless. Number 18, Ashwagandha. I want to take a moment before we discuss this one, because its Latin name, Withania somnifera, contains the word somnifera, which means sleep-inducing. The Ayurvedic physicians who named this plant named it for what it does. It appears in the Karaka Samhita, one of the foundational texts of Ayurvedics, medicine written over 3,000 years ago. Prepared as churna, a fine root powder mixed into warm milk at nightfall. For 3,000 years, this was the way. A meta-analysis published in 2021 analyzed 5 separate randomized controlled trials. The conclusion: ashwagandha produced significant improvement in overall sleep quality, reduced the time to fall asleep, and increased total sleep duration. The plant told us what it was. For 3,000 years, it delivered 18 remedies, every one of them trusted for generations. Several of them officially approved by the United States government. All of them quietly set aside when something patentable came along. The next time you can't sleep, before you reach for something that came in a blister pack, it might be worth remembering what worked for 5,000 years. If this list surprised you, and I hope it did, our next video goes even further back. We're going to follow one remedy through 6,000 years of human history, from an Egyptian pyramid to a World War II battlefield, and ask how the same plant could have been medicine for that long without any of us being taught about it in school. If you are subscribed, you will see it very soon. Before we go, if your grandmother or great-grandmother used any of the remedies on this list, I want you to leave it in the comments. Every story shared keeps this knowledge alive a little longer, and this community is very good at keeping things alive. This is Cures Before Clinics, because the best cures came before the clinics.